It is 30th of August, Wednesday, the year 2023. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us. This is the mid-morning pack and we are grateful that you found time to be with us. Of course, this is your weekly show every Wednesday from 10:30 to 12, where we bring you guests and discuss weighty matters, very, very critical issues happening in our country and trying to make sense of these issues. And today we have also prepared for you a very robust conversation on a very, very important subject that is currently trending in our country. My name is Mangicho Mola, and of course, as we always do it in this particular show, I also have on the other side my colleague Paul Kagi. Paul Kagi, good to see you.
Good morning, Mangicho. How are you?
Very good morning to you, and it's nice to be back. How have you been for the last 2 weeks?
Yes, fantastic. We have missed you so very much.
Thank you.
How is the country going on?
We are doing well, and the leave was very interesting. At least I had some moments to reflect and also to rest, and it's good to be back rejuvenated. Thank you so much also for doing a great job when I was away.
Thank you. Welcome back. And dear viewer, welcome to the weekly program, The Mid-Morning Pack. Today, as usual, we are here with Mangicho Mola to be able to bring into light on various matters. As also, we are going to bring you some highlights of what is happening in our country for the last 1 week. Welcome again. My name is Paul Kagi. Don't go too far.
Sure, and of course we'll be getting into those highlights in a few minutes. But just to bring you to speed on our subject of conversation today, we are looking at a subject that, of course, has kicked off some storm in the country and, of course, mixed reactions, and that is on the debate on the constitution review. Now, are we in a constitutional moment in the country? Do we need to amend the current constitution, even as we are looking at how far this constitution has been successful? Maybe what are some of the challenges that have emanated from this particular constitution? And this is a subject that we want to look into in details. And we have a question that we are asking you because we also want you to come on board and also to chip in. Give us your reflections, give us your contribution on the same. The question that we are putting out to you there is, do you support the amendment of the current constitution? Do you support the calls for amendment on the current constitution? You can begin to give us your reflections, your perspectives, your views on the same. You know the drill, 23814 for the short code platform. And then you can catch us on our social media pages, that is Facebook, MBCI TV, and YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. A little later on, we shall be joined by a guest who is a political analyst. Ben Macharia will be here to also help us to look into this particular subject in details. You can expect a very, very candid conversation on this. But meanwhile, Kagi, as you had suggested, as you had pointed out, we also have some other highlights on what has been taking or having the limelight across this 1 week.
Very well, Mangicho. And the first item we want us to look at this morning is yesterday the Senate gave nod to the establishment of the National Dialogue Committee. And we are aware that both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate, have been working around the clock to make sure that the talks between the Kenya Kwanza government and the Azimio are legally in place. As the President had rightly said before, that any form of talk between the government and opposition must be legally established. It has now been done 2 weeks ago. The National Assembly did the same, whereby it passed a motion and a bill to be able to establish the National Dialogue Committee, which is a 10-member committee. And again, it was followed yesterday by the Senate. And now we can say that the National Dialogue Committee can start having negotiations on how to be able to bring political settlement in the issues that are affecting our country.
Exactly, and that basically means, Kagi, that it's like now this time round, we have the political goodwill from both sides, that is the government side and also the opposition side.
Yes.
And would that also mean, or would that also signify that these particular talks have the blessing of both the president, that is William Ruto, and also the opposition chief, Raila Odinga?
Yes. By the way, the things were being done yesterday and 2 weeks ago from the National Assembly and Senate. You can easily attest to that these talks have a president and opposition leader, Raila Odinga, blessings, as you are asking. And I think it's a good thing. It's not the first time that you are having such kind of a talk. You remember the talks that gave birth to the Grand Coalition government between the late former President Mwai Kibaki and also the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga regarding to the issue of the forming the coalition government. It was first established in a constitution,
right,
which I think is a good thing. You know, when we do things legally, we erase some forms of mistrust and then some issues that like maybe we are not taking things seriously. But by now, I think even today they have a sitting, and we expect them to receive the first report from the technical committee.
Good. And of course, Kenyans will also be looking forward to find out now what are some of the the real key issues or the key ingredients of these particular talks, because I think previously we've had the fears of whether these particular talks will be geared towards benefiting the individual politicians who maybe are clamoring for particular positions, or whether it would be for the benefit of the millions of Kenyans who maybe need services, who need maybe their lives to be improved. So I think this is a subject that is also going to be very pertinent, even as we continue looking at the shape these particular talks will continue to take.
And the belief of many Kenyans and hope is that these talks are going to, this time around, they are going to bring into a solution the matters that affect our nation, especially after every election.
Right.
And we know there are some perennial situations after election whereby we rise up against each other, there is bloodshed, we never contented with our elections. And I believe this time around, these guys are going to come with a solid solution regarding to coming into an end of some perennial situations in our country after every election. And of course, I know, because we shall be talking about this later on, if these talks can be able to intertwine with the proposal of the amendment of Constitution, I think we can come up with a solid solution regarding to these issues of political settlement in our land.
Absolutely. I think that is something that is very positive. And of course, I think even in the recent past, we've seen the politicians have toned down, quite a number of them, maybe just say for a few, but most of them have toned down on the rhetorics against these particular talks, and rhetorics maybe against the opposition and also against the government. So it's a good opportunity now for the politicians to tone down, and let's see how these particular talks can benefit the country.
All right. And the other matter, the president has been having a week-long tour in Western region, and we could be able to tell that one of the major issues that is coming up in the Western tour is the issue of the sugar industry, which has really elicited a lot of heat from that region, whereby the president is very categorical to declare the government is really determined to be able to revive and re-establish the Mumias Sugar Company. But this has brought a lot of heat, whereby the president is not very comfortable with what he is calling the sugar cartels, who are being alleged to sabotage the operations of the government and even the effort of the government to be able to revive the sugar industry.
Right.
And this matter of sugar, Mangicho, has taken a long time. This reviving of the sugar industry in Western region started in the year 2019, and up to now, one thing has been coming up are the tussles in the courts, whereby there has been many cases which has been taken to court in regarding to the reviving of this industry, where you remember the president said these cases must be withdrawn from the courts.
And of course, Kagi, yeah, this is a story that has actually made a lot of headlines in the last 2 to 3 days. And I also saw even there is a lot of, the president has actually received quite a lot of backlash from a number of civil society members on some of the sentiments that he made, I think, while on his tour in the Western province. I think there are some remarks that he made there that have not really gone well with a number of Kenyans and also a number of civil society groups and also the Law Society of Kenya in terms of how the president wants to deal with these cartels. And I remember there is a time that I think he was in Meru when he said that the moment he will lift the Bible and take the vow he will deal with the cartels. And I think this issue of cartels has now it's become a major issue in this particular country.
Yes.
What strategy maybe he's really going, or he really wants to use to pursue these cartels, I think is a subject of major debate.
And I'm getting excited by this new terminology or jargon.
Yes.
The cartels.
The cartels.
I think cartels are becoming now a new jargon in the city and in our country. When you go to the coffee industry, we have people the government is calling cartels. If you go to milk industry, we have a team called cartels. Now when we are come to the maize again, we have cartels. And lately, in the sugar industry, again, we have cartels. And personally, I would love to know these guys who are called cartels. Maybe they are people that we know or we don't know, but they seem to be maybe disrupting the government operations. You need to know them.
Yeah, and of course, there are those who fear that these cartels are quite powerful, because there are those who think that maybe these cartels were there during the late President Moi's regime. There are those who believe that they were there during the late President Kibaki's regime. There are those who believe they were also there during the last regime by former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And in one way or another, maybe this all the presidents maybe were not in a position to deal with these cartels. Now, whether this time round there is a new strategy that maybe the president will use, but now according to some of the civil society members, they are worried that maybe the strategies that will be used will be against the law, will be against the legal processes that maybe are supposed or are required to actually be followed.
All right, and again we can check another issue here. There is an issue of the power outrage in our country. You remember during the weekend we had a 2 days blackout, which really disrupted a lot of operations in our country. And we heard about the transport minister, CS Murkomen, how he transferred various officials in the ministry regarding to this.
Right.
But one thing that came out yesterday, there was a positive response from the members of parliament who are proposing that we have to come up with a way to be able to unplug Kenya Power from the monopoly, And the Energy Committee yesterday proposed that they need consumers of power to be able to source this power direct from the supplier, who are called the NPP, who supply the independent power producers, or Kenya Power. The proposal is you can be able to seek to be supplied with power from the independent power producers, the IPP or Kenya Power. Okay. This one that you are saying, it will help to reduce cost of electricity. The current situation is that the IPP, there are around five companies which have been contracted by Kenya Power to be able to supply. Currently the IPP gets power, then sells to Kenya Power. Okay. You see, they want to bridge that gap, and you can be able to get your token direct from the supplier. And it is being said that this issue is bringing a lot of heat again because of the issue of contracting. And I think by the end of this week or next week, the CS for Energy is meeting the Energy Committee to be able to bring into a conclusion and agreement on this matter. But seriously speaking, the issue of Kenya Power need to be looked into by the government and the public at large.
I totally agree with you, Kagi, and this is a matter, I think, what happened, I think, on weekend when we had a blackout in the country for quite a long time. I think that was quite an unfortunate incident, and it should not happen. And I'm seeing the same story here. Inside, the members of parliament plan to stop Kenya Power monopoly. I think it is time we had another organ to also maybe come in, so that maybe we could have, because this is a very sensitive, a very important organ, a very important sector that should not just do things that might really have a lot of repercussions in the country.
Yes, and we want also to know whether there is cartels in Kenya Power. Because
sure.
Like every
the
sector,
cartels that you're talking about.
Yes, we have not had them in this sector.
Yes.
But maybe in a long run we are going to identify them, or maybe to hear there are cartels in Kenya Power.
Exactly.
Yeah, because something is not adding up here.
Yes, and of course, Kagi, on a positive story, of course, we had our athletes in Budapest, that is Hungary, and one Faith Kipyegon did this country very, very proud.
Yes,
we have another athlete known as Mary Moraa. I think this is something to be proud about as a country. But of course, this particular victory also coming at a time when we also have issues in the sports ministry. I remember recently we also had the Cabinet Secretary for Sports being interrogated by Parliament on some information that is not very, very positive in the sports industry.
Yes, and we're happy that the athletic sector is coming up again strongly. And it's like we're having a new crop of athletics in our country, and they need to be supported because they are bringing this country into its originality in terms of athletics. And these Kenyans need to be taken seriously. They need to be respected and honored because they are our ambassadors out there. Exactly. And CS for Sports was on the wrong books of the parliamentarians when they learned that he is not really concerned about them. But he came to the house and he gave his own story. I think it's going to change the track on the issues of attending this athletics.
Yeah, it is important that, of course, we give it a lot of focus because seeing Kenya finishing at position 5 out of 39 is quite impressive, is quite commendable, just behind United States, Canada, Spain, and Jamaica taking number 4, and Kenya coming at number 5. That was very, very positive.
So we are the leading in Africa?
Yeah, leading actually in Africa. we were ahead of our major rival, that is Ethiopia. Yeah, and actually this also is a wake-up call that we need really to do what needs to be done. If it is the stadiums that needs to be completed in terms of the work that needs to be done there, they should be done. In terms of dealing with other issues and other challenges that maybe have been facing the sports sector, this is the time to do that so that we can continue helping so many of our youths who might actually be talented in this particular field.
And I feel, Mangicho, we have many talented young people who can be able to come up as good athletics. What we have not done so far is to look for a way and a mechanism to be able to identify them as young as they are. I know you are a football fan, and you have been following how we get these guys, like Messi and others, from their tender age.
Exactly.
They identify the talents, and they nurture them aggressively. And therefore, I strongly feel, Mangicho, we have many, many talented young people in their tender age who are good athletics.
Sure.
And we need to start nurturing them from that originality to be able to help maybe by the next 10 years when they are attain the age of going out. We can also overcome the United States. It's very possible.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kagi, think about running.
It's too late, Mangicho.
I really feel you have the potential. And as you meditate on that, I think at this particular juncture, we can now introduce our guest for the show. That is a political analyst and also devolution governance expert. That is Bwana Ben Macharia. Karibu sana. Good to have you today in this particular show.
Thank you so much, Mangicho, for having me today again in the MBCI studios. Yes. As usual, for those who are seeing me for the first time, my name is Ben Macharia. I'm the chairman of Friends of Devolution, mostly looking at the development agenda of the county, looking at the challenges and the way forward.
Exactly.
Yes.
Always a pleasure to have you here, Bwana Macharia, looking at some of these issues that are happening in the country. And of course, I know we have our subject of discussion today, that is issue to do with review or the debate on the constitution review. That is what we're going to dwell on. But maybe briefly on some of the issues that we've discussed with Kagi, and especially on the issue of cartels and what's happening in the sugar industry. What's your opinion on this?
Okay, I want to agree. There are cartels everywhere.
Right.
And cartels are not, cartels are people who are given special privileges in any organization. Where you find that farmers, for example, they are farming coffee, but their work ends at the tea factory. You are not allowed to go to Nairobi to present your coffee at the tea factory or coffee at the auction, which means that the cartels take over from there. The price they buy from the buyers to what they are doing at the auction is totally very different thing. And any attempt by the farmers to try and maybe access the auction sometimes is met with a lot of brutality.
Okay.
Cartels have killed people. Cartels have money, so they bribe everybody. And they are across all the sectors. In the sugar sector, you can imagine how somebody can own a company that was a public company, and he already has other subsidiaries and other companies doing sugar.
But they argue that they own it illegally.
That is why
They used the entire process that is supposed to be used.
That is why I'm saying, by the time a government allows an individual to own a private, a public entity, a private individual, you must understand the process. It must be advertised. It must be done public participation. We want to be seen the minutes. When did the Mumia sugar farmers had a meeting to agree to hand over the company to the... We have been hearing about sugar revival. We have been hearing about people talking about the company, the government pumps money there. But these cartels, they know. By the time you are doing that, they head to court. They will take you around in circles to court. Now Mumias is not working because it's now going down. The same individual owns West Kenya Sugar, Kabras. Those are doing very well, but farmers are held somewhere at a bay. Those becomes areas where cartels sometimes operate. Even in the health sector, you cannot import certain items as a private contractor or contractor. What they normally do, they tell people, we are Silete, and that is how cartels are operating, and it is the reality. That's why you hear the president, immediately he got into office, he said, the first thing is to deal with, the cartels.
Yes. Yeah, that is what he said.
Yes.
Okay. And so would we, therefore, when we look back, because as we've said, they don't necessarily maybe work maybe in an island, they get the support from the government. So maybe one of the missing links is that maybe the great support that they get is from the government, and that definitely makes their work easy.
For the longest period in our country, cartels have gotten the most powerful individuals in the government.
Yeah.
Once they get Kagi, and they, for example, is the minister in the CS cabinet for agriculture, he gives special permission and allow certain things to happen by private individuals vis-a-vis against the common good. That is why even if you write a complaint to the Department of Agriculture, it will not be answered because cartels are owned by even people in government. That is why this time round you are seeing a very different song. People are hearing cartels for the first time because the leader of the country has decided to face the cartels head on. And they are not simple people.
But now the strategy has received a lot of backlash by Macharia.
Yes.
And do you think really the president really meant his words, or these are just remarks that are made on the roadside? Because when he says there are only three options, either they leave Kenya, or they go to jail, or they go to heaven. Do you think those are the strategies?
No, I think the president went overboard because you cannot threaten people in the public. Sometimes these politicians, you see them, they are driven by emotions. When they see, you see, like in that meeting, if you could look at the context of that statement,
yes,
people are shouting the name of that person.
Yes,
that person must go,
and he has to please the masses.
And they have to please the masses. And you see, sometimes even you can slap your friend in public, and you don't mean to slap.
So are you saying we should not take him serious?
No, actually, what we should do, we should actually take it very seriously, because you see, immediately after the mention of that name, the guy was hijacked. You understand? Immediately you hear this has left the country, this one has done that. You know, these cartels, they operate in the banking sector, where if they deposit money here in Nakuru, it reflects in London, in other areas. So you find, you come and realize they are very strong people. They are not just, they are in the banking sector, they cut across all. So actually what we should do as Kenyans, for example, actually I like what the civil society did. They called out the president. They told him, now you cannot go there like that, because you know that it was an assault on the human rights aspect of fair trial. In as much as you are in the court, you must be respected. Right. Let the court pronounce themselves. Because immediately akisema hiyo kesi yenu mkwende na mtoe na nini, you know, those are reckless statements. For me, where I sit as a human rights activist, that is not how the president should address it. In fact, the president must even avoid making such kind of remarks, because they can incite even the public, and even other leaders can say the same, and they will be arrested.
Is there a possibility, before I bring Kagi in, is there a possibility that maybe even our courts, our judicial systems have maybe been frustrating the process of ensuring that maybe Kenyans have their justice in regards to matter dealing with the cartels, and maybe that is what is making the president to also feel frustrated?
We must agree. The courts have, they have assisted Kenyans maybe to access justice where their rights have been trampled. But at the same time, like we are saying, there are cartels who have been using the same courts to frustrate government efforts in development. Okay. For example, if they know, for example, you guys are going to import edible oil, like you see 3 weeks ago, they went to court. They stopped the importation. Why are they, to whose interest? They said in the court papers that they will end up having losses. But when we are removing that caveat, we are opening importation. See, that is for the benefit of Kenyans. But there are people who see every opportunity for them. They will lose or they will gain. So the courts also have been used by other people. Even we have litigants who have been before courts that don't mean well for anybody. Yeah. They are sent by individuals.
Yeah. And also, as we look at that matter in depth, Mr. Macharia, it's a good gesture by the president and the government to be able to rescue some of these sectors. But also, on the other hand, we need to tread carefully, because if it is not done professionally, don't you feel it's going to scare away many investors who are here and feel insecure?
Yes, I think, in fact, that statement by itself, there are those I know already. They have also prepared to leave the country, because you see, when you are an investor and you live in a banana republic, you know, we are a country governed by laws. We are a country that follows the rule of law. We are not a banana republic whereby you just wake up, you issue a declaration, you send people out. People are protected by the same laws. Before an investor comes to Kenya, they have looked at all the relevant laws within the country. They have looked at our constitution, what are our consumer laws, what are our commercial laws, so that by the time they are coming to invest in Kenya, already they have made a decision based on the way they will be protected. But when they hear such kind of nani talker, you just leave, just go, you know, they will start living en masse. And it will not be good for the country.
Of course, and my director is telling me that we can take a short break at this particular point. Remember, you're still watching the Mid-Morning Pack on this 30th of August 2023, looking at this particular subject on the debate on constitution review. Of course, a subject that has begun to elicit mixed reactions. Do we have a constitution moment in the country? Of course, we are asking you also this particular question. Do you support the amendment of the current constitution, or do you support the cause on the amendment of the current constitution? You can continue giving us your reflections on our various feedback platforms. That is 23814 for those who are interested in the shortcut platform. And of course, you can catch us live on our 2 social media pages. For Facebook, that is MBCI TV, and for YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. And of course, when we come from the break, we'll also begin to sample some of your feedback on the same. Let's take that short break, and we'll be coming back with much more.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
This September, in Nakuru City, tears of joy will replace tears of pain. Healing, miracles, deliverance, signs and wonders. Come and witness the transformative power of God. Evangelist Doug Hayward Mills, in conjunction with Nakuru Clergy, Pastors Fellowships and all gospel ministers, invites you to Healing Jesus campaign at Afraha Stadium, Nakuru, starting from 12th to 14th September 2023, daily from 3 p.m. It's a time of restoration, exploring faith, finding hope, and embracing a deeper connection with our God. Believe, receive, and be healed, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The 3 days life-changing meetings are interdenominational, free, and open to all.
Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo katika uchumi wa kitaifa. Akili Shambani inakufunza mbinu mbalimbali za kilimo cha mimea na ufugaji. Tunavuka milima na mabonde kukuelimisha mengi kuhusu ubunifu na teknolojia katika kilimo. Yote 9, 10 ni masoko. Nayo je?
Tunahusika na mkulima kutoka kwa shamba hadi sokoni.
Fahamu haya na mengine mengi kuhusu kilimo kwenye Akili Shambani kila Jumatano saa 1:30 usiku, ukiletewa nami Enaeli Mlinga.
Je, una mjengo, welding ama wewe ni fundi? Unapojenga, tumia chuma za nguvu kutoka kwa Shirdi Trading Stores Nakuru. Chuma zetu zina nguvu, ni durable na ni za bei nafuu. Tuna chuma kama vile deformed bars, round bars, hollow sections, MS plates, checkered plates and many more. Pia tuna cement, roofing sheets with special lengths, barbed wire, marine boards, tanki za viwango tofauti. Visit us kwenye distribution yetu iliyo Nakuru Industrial Area opposite Kenya Power Depot, ama kwa branch yetu iliyo Nakuru Eldoret Highway, Shabab Roundabout opposite Total Petrol Station. Tunafanya delivery within Nakuru County. Kwa habari zaidi tupigie kupitia 0701 600 101 ama 0711 600 101 na pia 0735 600 101. Shirdi Trading Stores Nakuru, the hardware that delivers.
Looking for an unforgettable holiday experience for your child? Look no further than Kipepeo School Summer Camp. Our summer camp is packed with exciting sporting activities like junior golf, rugby, swimming, and netball, promoting teamwork, confidence, and fun. For children with special needs, our expert team conducts personalized assessments and provides therapeutic support, ensuring that every child thrives. At Kipepeo School, your child will unleash their creativity through the arts, music, dance, and drama, fostering self-expression and imagination. Don't miss this incredible opportunity for your child to grow, learn, and make new friends. Enroll now for the Kipepeo School Summer Camp, which kicks off on the 14th of August to 1st September. Visit our website at www.kipepeoschool.org or call us at 0740 000 111 to reserve your child's spot today. Kipepeo School. Curious minds, brave hearts.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for continuing to be with us. You are still watching us on the Mid-Morning Pack. Today we are looking at the debate on the constitutional review. Of course, there is a group of, we can call them experts, led by Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, who have, of course, elicited these mixed reactions with their calls for the amendment of the current constitution. And of course, these are subjects that many Kenyans, or a variety of, or quite a number of Kenyans have received with the different views on the same. And we want to ask ourselves and put this question out there, that is it the right moment for constitutional changes or for the amendment of the current constitution? What will it benefit this particular country even at a time like this? What is it that this particular constitution has achieved for this particular country? What is it that has been a major challenge for this particular constitution in the last 10 years? We've also asked you this particular question, and you can continue giving us your feedback on our shortcut platform, that is 23814, and also on our social media pages, that is Facebook and also YouTube. For YouTube, MBCI TV Official, and of course for Facebook, that is MBCI TV. Our guest in this particular show is Bwana Ben Macharia. Is a political analyst and also from Friends of Devolution. And Bwana Macharia, let's get into, I know the issue of cartels. We can continue with that particular subject because it has a lot of, but what do you make? Because this is not the first time that we are hearing and we are getting this particular discussion or this particular idea of having constitutional changes. Or the need for us to actually have amendment on the current constitution. But what do you think is the context for this particular call this time around?
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, we must understand, in 2010, when we had a change of constitution, actually we were coming from almost 37 years of the old, what we call the colonial constitution, right, which had very limited, opportunity for either expansion, amendment, and so on. And by that time, because it was colonial, it was actually designed not to address certain aspects which were not actually affecting before that. So when we passed the Constitution in 2010, it becomes now the supreme document for our country, which means that over time, when we look at the Constitution, it introduced a lot of sections on issues of human rights, on issues of socio-economic rights, and also on the issues of commercial and constitutional issues, as we can see right now. So as we go, this document, what now the Constitution does, we have to create also what we call substantive legislations to operationalize the Constitution, which means that each and every other time we will always have amendments being done by Parliament on section that does not touch on the fundamental rights of Kenyans. That if it touches on the fundamental directly rights of Kenya, it has to be subjected to a referendum. But if it is something that can be amended within the confines of the Parliament, then you can even look at the dairies. You can see there are a lot of calls for memorandum submission. You can see that. Yeah. So they are doing that because you can easily amend according to the current situation. So even as a country, each and every other time we amend the Constitution and we come up with new laws in regards to either land matters, election. Like when you had the Kriegler report. The Kriegler report, what it did, it actually gave a lot of recommendation on matters addressing injustice in elections. At the same time, the Supreme Court under Justice Mutunga was also instrumental in trying also to give some suggestion on what IBC could do actually to make sure they operationalize some of these amendments so that we can also we are satisfied with the elections when we go for elections. So amendments and counter amendments and regulations will always be there to suit that particular need that we have as a country. Yes.
And of course, even as we talk about it, because one of the main things that have been a major concern for majority of Kenyans, and of course there has been that particular talk that the current constitution that we have is one of the best in the world. I think that is something that most people or most citizens believe in this particular country, and even away from this particular country. But then now, when we have a call like this, there are those who argue that it is not necessarily the amendment of the Constitution, as opposed to the implementation of the Constitution. Do you think that is something that we really need to look into, that before we even factor in amending the Constitution, we first of all ask ourselves, where have we reached in terms of implementing?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think also Kenyans must understand, Kenya's constitution is the best progressive in almost Africa.
Right.
Because we borrowed heavily from South Africa, all the other best practices around the world. When you look at the committee of experts when they were going around, they went in many countries that time. They came with a lot of recommendations in terms of how best we can move Kenya forward as a country. So this constitution, the way you look at it, it touches on a lot of issues. The only problem we have been having, Mangicho, is the question of implementation. Because our leaders, even our MPs, look at, for example, I'll give an example. When we talk about chapter 6 on leadership and integrity, that chapter was supposed to bring sanity in Kenyan politics.
Correct.
It was supposed to make sure that any other time a person goes through that one, that sanity must have been brought. Because when you are a leader, you look at chapter 6, you must have ABCD. Now what the leaders did, they went to parliament. They came up with regulations that watered down the leadership and integrity. So the same people who are supposed to protect the constitution are used to circumvent the constitution for selfish or political gain. And that's where we are as a country. So that we can have a law. Even today we pass, we say people should walk looking straight. But somebody else will say, as they look straight, they come with amendments. They must have wings, I don't know what. So by the end of the day, they frustrate the whole law.
And is there a way in which, therefore, this particular, the constitution can actually be protected from some of these elected leaders, like members of parliament?
That is why you see in some section, for example, on issues of human rights, you cannot just go there and amend. You see, like when even you wanted to change the constitution on the term limit of president, on those are very heavy things within our country. You cannot just wake up one day and you pass. All the other things, even changing the constitution, you must at the right time on clauses affecting directly Wanjiko or Mora, they must be brought to us. That is why, even when they went and brought the BBI document, they did what they did in parliament because MPs are normally influenced. Even MCAs, they passed it on a record time, by the way, just 1 month. Kakamega has passed, Bungoma has passed, Nakuru had passed, so on and so forth. But what happened was they never knew what Wanjiko was saying. We on the ground, see, we waited for that document.
Yes.
We threw it down. And we tukangusha hiyo kitu. Which means that the framers of the constitution knew very well they will come people who don't mean well for the country. But when you touch on fundamental rights of Kenyans and you try to amend it through the back door, that's why you see there are people who are going to court under what we call public interest litigations. And they go and say, no, this one we are not going to allow. And that's why you see even like what you are saying, you have seen new emergence of Dr. PLO, professor, on this matter that they are also pronouncing themselves that we are seeing there is something wrong with our constitution. And that is why they are also starting the question of collecting a million signatures to make sure now they start also kickstarting another process of amendment. We cannot say we have reached the end of this constitution. We will amend it. Yes. Even we will continue to amend it because there are, you see like now, the issues of bitcoins. Those things we never used to hear about them. Yeah. But now, when you look, the parliament now is having sittings. You heard yesterday, they are discussing about that matter. Because now that matter came and found the state in a flat-footed. So laws and the constitution of Kenya, you cannot comprehensively say that now we are finished with it.
Yeah, and I think it's not the first time that the country is trying to amend the constitution. We have tried to do it severally. Yes. But don't you feel as if there is a well-orchestrated move to change the constitution? We are aware that last time, during the BBI, one of the areas that the court identified was a great mistake is what they say the president cannot initiate a constitutional amendment. And that's why the Lumumba and the team are trying to maybe take up the matter. Don't you see the timeliness of the Lumumba's proposal and what is happening in Parliament with the National Dialogue Committee? Because the National Dialogue Committee, of course, is going to come with some legal proposals. Yes. Here we have the National Dialogue Committee. We are expecting their legal proposals. And here we have the PLO's team. Don't you feel this is a well-orchestrated move to be able to do this job?
Thank you. I can't. No, Kagi, you are putting me in a very difficult situation where sometimes I may give a very opinion that may be one-sided. But one thing I must agree with you. Sometimes even these constitutional processes, we as Kenyans, we should suspect them. Yeah. That's what I'll say. We suspect everything. So that even Akina Lumumba, whether they come or they don't come, if they come to us, we watch their moves, because there is also somebody controlling them as puppets, even in this process. Just like you're saying, some other people knew that the BBI fell because it was not a popular initiative. Like you're saying, it was started by the president, but also with Raila Odinga. But you see now, when we start like a popular initiative, and now it comes from the other, those may be areas of amendment. And we will note, you will start seeing some MPs saying, even if we support what Lumumba is saying, you will know. There are certain people who speak, you will know that is government speaking. So we are going to suspect, not unless they are going to introduce very draconian amendments to the constitution, because we must at all costs protect the mutilation of our constitution. That one we must.
Yes. And Macharia, I think, I wish this time around, Mangicho, this matter would be taken up by, let me call Lumumba a citizen.
Yes.
Instead of maybe giving an avenue whereby I think we must be very careful, of which I suspect that politicians might along the way hijack this process, right? Yes. I don't know what we are going to do to allow it to go the Mwananchi way. Yeah,
and actually, and these, even as Bwana Macharia, you comment on that, because actually that was in line with what I was thinking, because Kagi, of course, like you had mentioned, I think we also had the Punguza Mizigo by Dr. Ekuru Aukot, which was thrown out of the window. And then, of course, the Okoa campaign, I think that was by CORD, which again was thrown out of the window. So, Bwana Macharia, and it seems, because most Kenyans feel that politicians at the end of the day, maybe they have a very, very important and they have a very weighty part or weighty contribution in terms of this. But at the end of the day, it's like they are also the ones who are responsible maybe for the lagging behind, or even maybe for the for paralyzing the entire process of actually coming up with the constitutional amendment.
The problem that we have been having is that we have never had, for the longest period, individuals standing up for the country without ambitions of leadership. Which means that if Macharia today start a popular initiative, I'm just doing that so that I can be elected the next governor of Nakuru County. And along the way, my interest mixes with the people and the public, so I get confused and I'm thrown away. That is why you hear these politicians, they will never sit down and wait Kagi start a popular initiative and make all those steps without trying to look at ways of making sure they hinder what he's doing. Because they have always obligated themselves this role of a monopoly. That they are the ones to monopolize the issues of constitutional or any law amendment. So that if, for example, today, people can start saying, we don't want this, we don't want this, they will follow, but along the way, they will mutilate us. So that we do a public participation, we give very strong rules. Look, see, like when the committee of experts was going around the country, we gave so many views. But those people went to Kilifi, I don't know, you heard about Kilifi draft. They went there, they went to Naivasha, they made their own. In fact, some of us, we went and started at the gate. We asked them, Nini Watu, what are you writing there, because we don't understand what you are saying? Because you came, you did a few, you know, those were very cosmetics. Very cosmetic public participation. They were carried out around the country, haraka, ni kama tu ile ya BBI, haraka, and then they were presented. What we have lacked as individuals is to follow the process and actually follow what people are saying. But anyway, what we don't dispute, we have come from far as a country. We had the constitution that was a person. But this is the constitution for Kenyans. That is why in the first it says we Kenyans, in recognizing, in accepting our diversity, in acknowledging, in whatever, and we give ourselves this constitution to us and our children and future generations. Which means we will continuously try to agitate for those kind of amendments and remind leaders that in as much as sometimes you are frustrating the efforts that we have to change the constitution and up until the time that we feel like Kenyans are. But I must say this, Kenyans lack what we call constitutionalism. Because even when we pass this constitution, there are people who have never seen that document. There was no civic education that was done by government. There was just like a small program called KNICE, Kenya National Civic Education Program. It just ran for about 3 months before we passed 2010. After that one, it was discontinued. Because we needed as a country to continue with that civic education so that even in school, even in secondary school, even in colleges, our children start adopting the Constitution and they start learning. Look at the American Constitution. It is 200 years old. But we don't hear all the time they are amending because they have taken it upon themselves, they have put that Constitution osmos in a heart. Right. When you talk to an American, the kind of loyalty they have to their country is very serious. So Kenyans, we just pass laws, so you start demanding even without the implementation of the one that you have. We have, by the way, we are the most legislated country in the world, Kenya now, as we speak. But these legislations are not implemented because we lack what we call goodwill.
Now, when you look at some of these issues or some of the key areas that this particular group led by Professor Lumumba, which they have come up with and which they are proposing to be looked into, for example, when you're looking at the issue of the executive, what do you think has been the main problem with the way our executive has been structured after we have every election?
What we did even in the first, you know, in any constitution, there is the letter of the law and there is the spirit of the law. When we were doing the constitution, we looked at the executive where we said, you being at the executive, you are not supposed to go to the legislature for purposes of oversight and accountability. That is the spirit of the law. So that we don't mix issues. If Mangicho were a CS, answer to Kagi as a member of parliament. Not vice versa, where you find even a CS, you cannot know whether they are CSS or they are MPs, because you mix issues, and that is why the constitution wanted to make it clear. And again, also it has to give a number, because like initially you could see 45 ministers. You used to hear about Moi, America, 42 ministers, 48 ministers. There was need for us to cap. That is why, to a large extent, they are capped. Even the CSS, you have seen, in as much as they were illegal, but they were capped to a certain number. But again, also you see the violation that happened. The president again presented a very big number, which means the spirit of according to the law, the way it is written, when you read it literally, you may not understand what it is saying. But when you look at some of these things, we were looking at a very nice parliament. They will discuss issues of the public. Wanjiku will present memorandums to them and petition so that they take them, in case they need any amendment, they present it. But now we have come whereby one word from the executive is cutting across to the judiciary.
So in short, you're saying that despite we have a good constitution so far, it is very difficult. We are lacking some people who have goodwill to implement that constitution. And if we are messing around this time with the implementation of our constitution, do you think the next generation is going to do it? I don't think so also.
And I think that is the biggest problem. That's why I was talking about constitutionalism. Just to, let me use a certain example. Look at our young people, for example, at the county level. They don't understand. We have gaps in terms of laws that are supposed to address their issue. We talk about 30% procurement all the time. But you never see any youth lobby group or group going there and telling the governor, where are our contracts? Yes. They don't. Look at Nakuru County. We don't have, you look at the last youth week. You could not see passionate youth demanding the way we used to demand. We used to say, no, we want a youth policy, but we are being told constitutional does not allow that time. But now our constitution is robust. It can allow all the amendments and all that. So what we are lacking is the goodwill from leaders, because leaders have watered down and have implemented sections that are favorable to them. Look at even the counties. Si munasikia sahi counties tunapewa pesa in time. Why is it happening now? Why was it not happening before? So, and this thing is told in black and white that counties must get before the 15th of every month, so that they can plan for salary, development, and so on and so forth. But because of individual interests, sometimes it supersedes the law, and that is why they ignore it for their own interest.
I'm suspecting a huge coalition between the political class and this political lobby led by Lumumba, because the areas they are touching are very, very sensitive.
Okay.
One, as you had likely said, is about the fight against corruption, the national elections, especially the voting systems, which have been a bone of contention in our country.
Yes.
Lately, we have heard there was a proposal, amendment proposal in Parliament, whereby we need to allow those politicians who have been maybe found guilty of corruption cases to continue vying for their seats.
Yes.
Yeah. So if this team is going to touch on how to be able to tighten the nuts on fighting against corruption, which is like touching the heart of a politician. Number two, voting system, which has been one of our greatest challenge in our country after election, and also trying to touch on areas of maybe reviewing the operations of executive. Don't you feel you are touching politicians directly and also the government directly? There might be a huge coalition between the two groups.
What I want to assure you is that they will not see the light of the day. Those two, in fact, they are things which are at the heart of these politicians. When you talk about corruption,
yes,
corruption, we have the best laws, by the way, even EACC and so on and so forth. But people have known, that is why you hear they talk about anticipatory bail. They know very well that they have committed a certain offense. By the time you are going to the DCI, they already have a court order. They are working with it. Mangicho, you come to arrest them, they show you the court order. Which means they have mastered the art of circumventing some of these laws. And any Kenyan politician, I want to see who will definitely speak positively and boldly against corruption in this country. I want to see one. I want to see, you see, even during campaigns, you say, oh, our country will be devoid of this, these all jargons. But when it comes to reality, just tell me, give me one case of a country, of this country, where a politician has been jailed because of corruption. There was only one person who was called Aneko. He was arrested. You remember that he was the chairman of the Kenya Tourist Board, I think.
I remember.
That man was taken to court and he spent time there. But I know the reason why he was taken there is because he didn't have godfathers. Right now, you arrest me, I'll send 2 or 3 texts. You will find 15, a battery of prayers. They will come and remove me. And right now, maybe I've stolen public funds. What we are saying is that some of those areas may present the biggest challenge, Mangicho, when we now go to the table. You know, PLO Lumumba has been very candid in trying to bring some of the issues which are very bold to the Republic. But the PLO lacks what we call a political goodwill. If he has a political goodwill, he will succeed. But if he's coming the way he comes, he's an open-minded man. Politicians don't like people, even like us. We work with them, but they reach a point, they tell you, Macharia, we are coming, they leave. Because they don't want open minds.
You remember the time he was the director of EACC?
Yes.
He was very determined to fight corruption in our country.
Yes.
But the repulse of the jumps he received that time, he had to resign from that position.
You know, they give you this position, but at the same time, they remove it through other channels like this. So you become just a stooge of certain individuals. Oh, can you summon that file? You have seen the dropping of the cases in the country.
Yeah.
How comes all of a sudden all of them are just being dropped left, right, and center? Sometimes you can believe in a system, but that system is rotten to the core.
Sure.
And that is why, even as Kenyans, we must be very careful, even when we are engaging with these processes, that we will go there with a lot of hopes and they will all be dashed. You see, like PLO now wants to keep us again busy with signatures and so on. If this thing does not have the political goodwill, I'm telling you, it is dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival. And on that particular note, we also want to interact or join our reporter, that is Vincent Kimtai. Of course, as we always do on this particular program, we have our reporter Vincent Kimtai also getting the opinions and the views from Kenyans on what they also think about our subject of discussion. And of course, today we'll send Vincent Kimtai to go outside there and also get your opinion. What do you think? Do you support the calls for the amendment of the Constitution, or are you not supporting? And whichever position you take, what is it that has informed that particular position? Vincent Kimtai, share with us what you got from the field.
Shukran sana Mangicho Mola pamoja na Paul Kagi, na kama vile ambavyo mmeweza kuelezea hapo studioni ni kwamba siku ya Jumapili Kenya iliweza kuadhimisha miaka 13 tangu kuanzishwa kwa katiba inayotumika sasa hivi. Hata hivyo, baadhi ya Wakenya na wataalamu waliweza kujitokeza wakitaka katiba ya sasa kufanywa marekebisho. Wakenya hao waliongozwa na wakili wa katiba Patrick Lumumba, ambapo wanataka baadhi ya vipengele kuweza kufanywa marekebisho, vipengele hivi ikiwa ni uwakilishi wa uongozi pamoja na tume ya uchaguzi IEBC pamoja na ugatuzi kuweza kufanywa marekebisho. Na leo hapa hivi nitakuwa nikizungumza na Wakenya kuweza kufahamu ikiwa wanaunga mkono katiba kufanywa marekebisho, na kama katiba inayotumika sasa hivi imeweza kuwa na manufaa au wanaielewa katiba ambayo inatumika wakati huu.
Kwa majina naitwa Ezekiel Omokole. Ni muhimu ubadilishaji wa katiba ikuje, ikiwezekana ilete hizo vipengele za prime minister akiwa na deputy 2, deputy president akiwa na deputies 2. When those people come into the government, they will put checks and balances to the government. Hizo maufisadi na utumizi vibaya za mamlaka kwa upande wa serikali, ikiwa ni president, ikiwa ni deputy, ikiwa ni ministers, hazita kuwepo, kwa sababu hawa wote wataweka checks and kitu inaitwa checks and balances. So vitu kama hizo, kwa mfano sasa hivi vile wanapanga kubadilisha hii katiba, tunashukuru bipartisan imepitishwa. Sasa vile imepitishwa hivi, tunataka vile wakina Lumumba wamesema, hawa wote waletwe ndani kuchangia mambo ya kubadilisha nini katiba. Hii Kenya ni kubwa kuliko sisi wote. Ruto atakuja atapita, Kibaki amekuja amepita, Jomo Kenyatta amekuja amepita, Uhuru amekuja amepita. Hata hii kitu yenye wanaunda yenye wanasema ya opposition leader, si ya Raila peke yake. Raila atakuja na atapita. Kuna mwingine atakaa kwa hiyo kiti kama leader of opposition. Sawa sawa. So mimi kwa upande wangu tunaunga mkono sana hiyo kitu, na ninaenzi mwingine pia aunge mkono, kwa sababu hata kama uko upande wa Ruto, serikali ya Ruto itakuja itafanya nini? Itapita, lakini nchi itasalia.
Kwa majina naitwa Simon Sangale na Sieku. Kuhusiana na mambo ya mabadiliko ya katiba, ninasema kwamba inastahili angalio katika masuala ya kushughulikia mwananchi wa kawaida. Kwa sababu ikiwa hii kubadilisha katiba itakuwa ni vile ambavyo mambo yanavyoendelea kama vile ilivyokuwa BBI, ule mtu ambaye ni wa kawaida, mahali ambapo wanastahili kuangalia kwamba sio kwa maslahi ya wanasiasa. Kuna mambo mengine yanaweza badilishwa. Naomba kwamba PLO Lumumba angalie kwamba kuna bipartisan talks ambazo zinaendelea kati ya Azimio na Kenya Kwanza. Haya mazungumzo ambayo yanaongozwa na Ichung'wah na Kalonzo Musyoka yapatiwe muda. Kwa sababu katika yale mazungumzo kuna mambo kama vile ya prime minister, kuna mambo kama vile ya leader of official opposition, kuna mambo kama vile kuweka katika mambo ya CDF katika katiba, kuna mambo yale ya jinsia 2/3 katika katiba. Tuwapatie muda hii mazungumzo, kwa sababu PLO Lumumba mkianza kuokota signatures ni kuwapotezea Wakenya wakati. Ili kwamba kama hii bipartisan talks italeta mazungumzo na yafue dafu, kutakuwa na kitu inaitwa referendum. Kwa sababu kubadilisha the structure of the executive, lazima kuwe na referendum ambayo itafanyika ili kuweza kuwa na kiti cha opposition, kuwe na kiti cha prime minister, kuweze kuwa na mambo mengine kama kuweka CDF katika katiba. Kwa hivyo mimi kitu ningependa kuomba ni kwamba wanasiasa, tafadhalini msiangalie nyinyi ambao mko uongozini mnataka kuongeza miaka yenu katika uongozi. Kama vile ilivyoshindwa wakati wa BBI, wakati tulikuwa nataka kuleta mabadiliko kwa sababu ya rais aliyekuwa na staafu, pia hii katiba isibadilishwe kwa sababu ya rais ambaye aliyoko mamlakani, ila tu tuangalie mwananchi wa kawaida.
Mimi siungi mkono katiba kurekebishwa, because hata ile katiba tulipitisha 2010, tangu nianze kuona hiyo katiba, kila after 5 years saa zile president anataka kubadilishwa, ni mwananchi wa chini anakufaga. Na saa ile mwananchi wa chini amekufa juu hayuko kwa hiyo chama, the same government huwa inasherekea. So mimi ninaongea kama mwanadamu. Hakuna mahali katiba yoyote Kenya hii itaguzana na mwanadamu ambaye aliumbwa na Mungu.
Si wakati ambao unafaa. Kwa sababu gani? Ukiangalia maisha ambayo tunaishi, watu tunapitia changamoto. Na katika maisha kuna mambo matatu. Kuna chakula, kuna mavazi na kuna mahali pa mtu kuishi. So wakati mwanadamu anakosa vitu tatu hizo, hakuna penye anaweza kimbilia. So tunahitaji kwamba serikali ijipange, isiwe tu watu kuongea, ikiwe inaongea na kutenda vitu vingine. Okay? Because unapoongea vitu ambazo hufanyi, hausaidii mtu. Unasikia? So tunataka kama ukiongea watafanya kitu fulani, wacha ifanyike mara moja. Kama ni mafuta irudi chini, kama ni chakula irudi chini, kwa sababu kila mtu analia.
Mimi siungi mkono kabisa. Siungi kwa sababu tukiangalia kwa hii serikali ya saa hizi ni promise after promise. Promise after promise. Hiyo promise after promise inatusaidia na nini? Na hii katiba hawa watu wanang'ang'ania matumbo zao. Kwa hivyo siungi mkono ya kubadilisha katiba. Hata sitaki kusikia maneno yake.
Na labda swali ya mwisho, je, mna ufahamu ya kutosha kuhusiana na katiba ama kuna haja ya mafunzo kutolewa kuhusiana na katiba?
Wanafaa kuja watufunze. Hata ingine tulipitisha kwa sababu walisema. Ukiuliza vijana wengi hapa hawajui maana ya katiba. Wenye faida ya katiba ni ya wale watu wako huko juu. Kwa hivyo hawa watu wako huko juu wanatafuta mamlaka yao. Wanataka wao. Ni kama kusema, unaona hii mambo na kama hii ni bottom up. Sisi hatukujua bottom up ni kusema nini. Kumbe bottom up ni kufinya mtu wa chini ukipandisha juu. Unaona?
Mimi nakataa sababu katiba kutoka 2010 katiba mwananchi wa kawaida jamsaidia. Wenye amefaidika wakati tuleta mambo ya devolution, wenye amefaidika ni mabwenyenye. Wenye walikuwa kuongozi tu bado. Hao ndio wanaenda ukula, wamemaliza kutoka hapo. Kwa mfano tuseme kama huyu alikuwa the former governor wa Uasin Gishu, Jackson Mandagor. Si ametoka governor ameingia tena Senate. Sasa wamekatelea madaraka tu miaka yote. Katiba isaidii mwananchi wa kawaida. Hii serikali yenye tuko nayo sasa hivi walituambia pesa mfukoni. Hii ni serikali ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Alisema atashughulikia vijana wetu na watu wale wenye hajiwezi. Lakini imekuwa kina Mudavadi ndo mama mboga na kina Wetangula ndo wajamaa boda. Sasa nani amewajiriwa kwa hii serikali? Mama mboga kama ni Mudavadi na Wetangula ndo jamaa boda. Sisi tutafaidika lini? Hatuna haja na hiyo katiba.
So mimi kwa kurekebisha katiba naunga mkono. Manake katiba hii imetufinya juu kama saizi maisha ya gharama imepanda juu.
Labda nikuulize hii swali, unafikiri mafunzo ya kutosha yametolewa kwa Kenya? Wewe binafsi unafahamu kuhusiana na yaliyomo kwenye katiba ya Kenya?
Naelewa. Lakini katiba hii yetu hatuelewi vile inaenda. Manake katiba ikirekebika tutakuwa vizuri. Mwananchi anaumia.
Tusiangalie mambo vile ambavyo tunaweza ongeza wengine madaraka. Angalia huyo mtu ambaye anarudi nyumbani jioni hajapata pesa. Wale watu wa biashara wamefanya kazi mpaka jioni hawapati pesa. Watu wa matatu wanafanya kazi mwingine hajapata pesa. Tuangalie vile pesa inaweza ingia mfukoni na sio kuangalia vile ambavyo wanasiasa wanavyoweza kuishi katika viti kama vile ilivyo kule Uganda kwa Museveni, kama vile ilivyo kule Rwanda kwa Kagame na vile ilivyokuwa kule katika Zimbabwe kwa yule Mugabe. Kwa hivyo wanasiasa tafadhalini tuweze kuangalia wananchi wa Kenya ili tuone kwamba maisha imeboreka. Kama ni gharama ya maisha ipungue, kama ni mambo ya chakula iweze kuwa mzuri na sio kwamba wanasiasa waweze kupata mamlaka.
Katiba kurekebishwa ni sawa, lakini unajua sisi wenyewe mpaka hata tumechanganyikiwa na maisha ya saa hii. Kwa sababu hii katiba kama tungeunga mkono iendelee, rais wetu angeangalia wananchi, aangushe zile uchumi imekuwa mbaya. So kitu kama mafuta kwanza sana ikirudi chini tutajua hata mambo iko sawa kwa hii serikali yetu.
Mangicho pamoja na Paul Kagi, hayo ni maoni ya Wakenya kuhusiana na mpango wa katiba kufanywa marekebisho, ambapo tumeona wengi wanaunga mkono katiba kufanywa marekebisho huku wengine pia wakiweza kupinga. Hata hivyo baadhi ya Wakenya wanasema kwamba swala la uchumi kwa wakati huu unapaswa kupewa kipaumbele na kuweza kubadilishwa badala ya kuzingatia au kuangazia kubadilishwa kwa katiba. Vile vile tumeona wengine wanasema kwamba serikali inapaswa kutoa hamasisho au kutoa mafunzo kwa Wakenya kuhusiana na katiba, manake wengi hawaelewi kuhusiana na katiba yaliyomo kwenye katiba ya sasa ambayo inaendelea kutumika humu nchini. Hata hivyo tuliona wakili Profesa Patrick Lumumba akisema kuwa ataanzisha zoezi la kuweza kusanya saini ili kufanikisha mpango wa kufanyia katiba marekebisho. Nikiripotia kipindi cha Mid Morning Park MBCI TV, jina langu ni Vincent Kimutai.
Well, thank you so much. Our reporter there, Vincent Kimtai, finding time there to interact with Kenyans and also getting their opinions, their views, their perspectives on what they think about this particular subject on the debate on constitution review. Kagi, and of course our guest, Bwana Ben Macharia. You've had Kenyans there, and there is this particular one fear. I don't know what you think about it, Bwana Ben Macharia, that this clamour for this particular review or this particular amendment, most Kenyans are concerned, most Kenyans are worried that this is likely to be for the benefit of a few individuals. In this particular case, we're talking about the politicians. Kenyans are wondering, are they really going to see anything translating to them being benefiting?
I think,
what do you think about this particular concern?
I must say that one of the things that actually Kenyans have become fatigued. They are tired. Because each and every other time, you see even among the agenda you have said, it is not among what many Kenyans have been going through.
Yes.
Even right now, about the cost of living, so on and so forth. Nobody's talking about that. That is why you see the common Kenya thought that actually if we amend maybe the constitution, the president could have made some explicit authorities and a directive so that maybe kama ni mafuta, it just come down. Maybe if it is unga, just come down. But now what Kenyans are being taken around are this charade.
So in other words, these particular issues that these gentlemen are proposing, or this particular team for Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, whatever they are talking about there, I don't know, the structure of the executive, parliament, and those other issues. Are we saying that at the moment, this is not what is very, very important or very urgent as far as the country is concerned?
I think that's why I'm saying we have lost it. This thing will be, to some extent, to others, the common mwananchi, it looks diversionary. We were talking about the cost of living, what, and actually tukua tunataka fuel go down. Now we have changed the subject. We want to introduce constitutional amendment. We now talk about the leadership structure. How will it help that Wanjiku who is there at the ground? How do we say, because now we have 10 ministers, now your food will be on the table. Now because now we are saying now MPs will speak in parliament, now that means that our children school fees will come down. Those are not the things this republic is addressing. And that's why you see Kenyans are now coming of age. They are dismissing all these amendments. You see that person saying, when you're talking about bottom up, there are things we were told, but nothing on the ground. And that becomes just a mirage.
Yes.
That we were just told a story, but we continue to tell Kenyans. But at the same time, when you look at Kenyans closely, they have not seen any leader who is addressing tangible and real issues to them.
Very true.
And you see, also Kenyans must understand. You know, you keep clamoring for constitutional changes. But these changes we are clamoring for, they are very expensive in terms of implementation. For example, when we look at the County Government Acts, it talks of even what we call village administrators. They are supposed to be there. But when you come to a county like Nakuru, we don't have village administrators. Because ourselves, we looked at the structure itself, those people just become village headmen and they will start gobbling taxpayers' money. So as Nakuru, we ignored that part. But in some counties like Busia or Kabungoma, we have village admins.
They are there.
They are there. Which means that even as Kenyans, we must make a deliberate effort. That I don't need Mangicho to tell me it is lunchtime. I'll just walk for lunch. I don't need the president to say, let's go and farm. We know the season, we know the time, it is us to buy the seeds. We don't need to legislate. You know, sometimes in Kenya, and that is why you see sometimes they confuse Kenyans. You cannot legislate morality. If somebody is corrupt, you cannot legislate that he should not be corrupt. If somebody is a killer, they will still kill. But what you can do is what we call a deterrent factor. You deter through other means. Maybe you give a very big, huge fines, and maybe you say this will be happen, like issues of FGM and all that. You can understand those are just deterrent. But in the issues of legislation of certain aspect of our life, as Kenyans, we must make a decision. And actually, you see the way Wananchi are. They must now come up together and call out the leaders. Even when the president comes to on the street, they should tell him, Rais hapana, hiyo mambo. Na ndio unaona, when he was campaigning, he was talking, nyinyi mnataka maandamano ama mnataka unga? Watu wanasema unga. Yeah. Nyinyi mnataka kubadilisha katiba vyeo ama tuangalie wananchi? Ilikuwa tuangalie.
Actually, when the BBI was being dropped,
yes,
I think that is what actually the current government...
He was able to whip the emotions of Kenyans, because he knew exactly what, and that's what politicians do. Politicians, when they come for a meeting, we have gone there because we have seen maybe classes are crumbling in a CDF meeting. CDF is not accountable. When we go for that meeting, and then Kagi is paid by the MP to come, maybe, I'm just using as an example, to come and introduce other agenda which were not there. He starts saying, nowadays, you see these villages, our girls are getting married early. Now, what is that agenda to do with the hospitals and that school? You understand? So that is what now the politicians, and I'm happy when you look at Kenyans now. We are saying, no, you leaders, you can always fool us, but you cannot fool us all the time.
All the time, yeah.
There is one thing that I've heard from them,
yes,
which is becoming a disease to us, that we passed this constitution because we were told by our leaders.
Yes.
It has become now a tradition whereby even during the first amendment of constitution, people were saying that we are voting this way because we were told to do this way.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
I don't know. As you were saying that people must wake up, that element of people waiting for their leaders to come and read for them and maybe to give them every direction which they can be able to make by themselves is dragging us behind. And also it is backfiring towards wananchi by themselves.
Yes.
I don't know when we shall mature to be able to make our right decisions as public.
What I know, over time, when we started the agitation for the new constitution, I was still a young man. I never understood certain things, how they work. Like, for example, let me use the county government. We used to go there, we make a lot of noise, oh, pesa imekaa, nini. But when we sat with the control of budget, and the Agnes Odhiambo, she told me, she showed me the figures as they come at the exchequer. Akaniuliza, when this money has come in, and you need this amount, we have received 400 billion. We, as a counties, we need 1.9 trillion. Where do you think these other monies will come from? Now you start understanding how government works and what happens, because now you are taken through the structures. Wanjiko or Atieno or anybody, pale mashinani, they must learn that every freedom has a responsibility. When we have a freedom to choose 90 leaders or 6 leaders, up to MCAs and up to the governor and the president, we must also take responsibility when they want to be fed. We must reach a point where we say, Mheshimiwa, you are coming with 5 vehicles. Na wewe ulikuwa unakuja na baiskeli. What happened? When leaders now start saying, you see like what happened in Uasin Gishu. The people are going to revolutionize their mind. In that right now where we are as a country, people are seeing now we are not discussing the issue anymore.
Yeah.
It's about people's interest. When you talk about the office of the Prime Cabinet, say, what does it have to do with us? Me, I don't even know how it can assist me. I don't know how that office has made it impossible that Unga should come down. I don't understand what has happened that roads are not made because we don't have a Prime Cabinet Secretary or the official opposition of the leader. So we need to tell our people that either way as we move forward, this constitution, we must be able to protect it. And even that shosho, pale mashinani, they must be able to tell Mheshimiwa, ulituambia tukifika basari ikifika tutagawiwa na njia, but now hatuoni basari. Those are the things I expect even our leaders now to be complaining to the president. But now you see, you just hear, oye, hawa watu wape Raila Odinga hiyo kiti, hawa watu wengine wawache Ruto waongoze milele. You see those kind of people. But what I'm sure, my good people, is that in the fullness of time, our people will get fatigued and they will now start understanding how these things work.
Yeah.
We don't need 10 leaders. Mangicho just tell us, are we going this way or that way? Because this structure of governance is becoming so expensive for us. It's becoming so unbearable and it's bringing even confusion. Even come at the county.
Yeah.
We have even ministers who don't even understand their work the way we were talking last time. But they are just there gobbling salaries and so on and so forth. So we must tell our people, and we must also insist civic education, it must be done to our people. Otherwise, you have heard that lady has said, that we were not even taken through the document.
Yeah.
We have this Kasumba, Raila amesoma, mimi nasoma ya nini? Ruto alisema, Baba amesoma.
Yeah, let me ask you, because you are this in your heart.
Yes.
Today, as a Wanjiko, Atieno, or maybe Lumumba, or whoever, if I want to get Kenya Constitution today, right now, where can I get it?
The copy?
Yes.
Now the copies, in fact, the copies are sold now. You cannot get. Because the first that were actually printed and were given as a contract, they were supplied into other areas. And in fact, the persons actually reprinting the constitutions are the non-governmental organizations and the partners. Those are the ones who have been facilitating on organization dealing on matter of constitutionalism and the constitution. They are the ones who have actually been assisting us in getting those copies. But when you go to the government facility, you cannot even receive any, even a Kenya Gazette. You see, even like, for example, even county. When you go there, you want to know how much you have to pay. Then you have to buy that document, the finance bill 1,000. Now, you can imagine where we are now. We are left now to just live in speculation, because even access to that information is not guaranteed.
Yeah, because I'm trying to imagine a situation where today we do a sampling of one village randomly in our country. And I wish these guys called the info trucks and others could do this. We sample and identify whether in our villages anybody has a constitution, like the way we have the Bible in our rooms. Anybody has a constitution on his or her desk, whereby when you're free, you can peruse and see how it says. I wish it could be done.
I think also when you look at partners, there are people, I must say this on this national television, it is very unfortunate that there are people, even partners, who have given billions of money for us to be able to be printed the constitution and to be supplied free of charge. But these documents have never reached Wanjiko, kule mashinani.
Really?
Yes, I have. You see, like right now, there is a project by the Kenya Devolution Support Program by World Bank. Nakuru County, when, for example, I'm saying, when the money came for us to do civic education, it was returned for training of other people, which means that the money was reallocated. And this one was, in fact, I could look at the budget, there was printing of those constitutional, distribution of about 100,000 copies. But along the way, interest did what? They changed. So our own people are still our own enemy. And again, also, you must understand this mantra, my people. Leaders want people who don't understand anything. Leaders want a group of people, when they come, they say hallelujah, or they say this is the thing, the way to go. You just say nisawa. That is not how a leader should conduct our people. And that is why any leader you see you are giving objective criticism, objective analysis, either you will be eliminated or you will be told huyo mtu akifika kwa hiyo mkutano asiingie. Because they know when Mangicho goes there, we'll ask, we passed a budget of 90 million for provision of water. What happened? Our people are still going to the river. Those are not the questions. These are not the things. That's why you see, even our leaders, where they are, they would wish Kenyans to remain the same. So that even lawyers are also, they don't want us to understand law. Because if we know the law, we might file court, I'm just saying this, we might file them directly, my friend. Sometimes there is just a conglomeration of issues against the constitution.
And that's why our senator, Busia senator, is always on top gear. He's not a lawyer, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, Mtata is not.
But he's doing a good job in our courts. Imagine we could have like
because he familiars himself
Kenyans who are of that nature. Yes. Would be very far.
In fact, people could be saying the Umtata of Kakamega, the Umtata of Nakuru, the Umtata of Mombasa, and these are the people who could actually be giving, and this is what we call the public interest litigation. They normally do a lot of things on behalf of the public. They take up cases, they have identified issues. You know, as you wake up tomorrow morning to go to work, there are also people who wake up to ask themselves, where do we start advocating for our people? And this is now where our leaders have failed even the constitutional moment. You see, like right now, I expected that because the constitution was new, we expected that there could be even what we call like a constitutional commission. That could be actually the one that could be spearheading some of these amendments. But now that one is drawn in the dark. People wanajua katiba, forget about it. Now we start implementing, and you're talking to people who did not even know or read through the lines of the constitution. You see, like I was telling you, to a common person, like the Article 6 it says, the best interest of the child is paramount. That is number 16. When you read at that, as a common person, you cannot understand. True. But those who deal with children, they understand. By the time that statement was being put in the constitution, it tried to address the Children's Act by saying whether the mother or the father, they fight over the child, the court must make a declaration on the best interest of that child. But now, because you don't understand about the spirit, sometimes we just read the law. And that's why we are saying, to badilisha tuweke, but those things are still within there. And that's why so far, even right now, I want to hear even organizations that even government themselves, leave alone partners. We want to hear the government coming up with that plan so that they can educate people more. Because even they may tell us, they may dissuade us from these amendments. We don't need some of these amendments, by the way. If at all, for example, we can ourselves identify, this is a cartel. When they come to buy your coffee, you say, no, sitauza kwako. If we can identify Macharia is a cartel, na hata nikikuja mnaniambia utaweka hiyo chemist hapa because you know you are selling counterfeit. That is now the public. And that is why you see in other countries, they have very harsh laws against culprits. And this in entirety promotes the constitution of their countries.
And I think that is why, Mangicho, we are losing the battle. Because if you go to many public offices, as I earlier said, we expect every company or maybe every government office, it has given its officials the Chapter 6 of the Constitution. That as much as we operate in this office, these are the guidelines. These are the ethical guidelines as per the Constitution. But we don't have even one. If you ask many of the public officers about the Chapter 6 of Constitution, none.
They even don't know.
They don't know what it talks about.
You see, like even, for example, a very simple thing. We want to see even EACC arrest people for going to work late. Yes, you know that is against the Public Officers Ethics Act. You must follow the law because you are paid by the public taxes.
Yes.
When you come to a government office late, you are supposed to be indicted. When you fail to report to work, even EACC should go and start looking at how many, who are these people absconding from duty, and they are receiving money. Let us start seeing those kind of things so that even the small fish can know it's not about just saying, easy, you just point at the top, but at the same time, you are the biggest violator at the grassroots, in that small office, in that Waseges Point, or in Busia, that corner. That's why you see even EACC right now, it is toothless. You find their budget has been reduced. You find they are not given budgets to employ enough officers. You find that when people are taken to court, they have more money than EACC. You understand those kind of things? So we reach a point whereby the people will now maybe start in that revolution. The people themselves will start calling leaders. That's why you see even in some areas, the churches, you go there as a leader, you are told, kiongozi kaa hapo, uhudhurie ibada, tukimaliza ufanye nini? Enda kuongea na watu huko nje.
Yes. So, Bwana Macharia, and listening to some of those Kenyans, and the main issue is actually the cost of living, and they're actually finding that this particular issue is not where in the picture of what maybe is being proposed as the amendment in this particular constitution. So how even if there were to be proposals for the amendment of this particular constitution, how should the issue of cost of living be brought in?
Actually, for example, I expected even these lobbyists, even those in Nairobi, I expected them to say, when you look at Section 3 of the Importation Act, it says that somebody should maybe import this number of nini and then is given this number of waiver. We should do this so that when I import this, we should remove this tax, we should remove this, so that by the time overall we affect the cost of living. But now, there is not such kind of objective proposal. Right now, for example, I would tell you, for example, if I want, for example, to bring the cost of unga, maybe personally, I can order mahindi from Gishagi. Once it is brought and Nisiage, meaning to avoid kwenda kununua unga. They were 5 kg at 500 shillings. You understand? Because you see now at the end of the day, I'm also trying to give away. Right now, when you look at our leaders, there is nothing specifically that they are addressing and talking for Wanjiku. That if President Ukifanya, and that's why you see even these bipartisan talks you are talking about, what has happened? These talks keep mutating day in, day out, day in, day out. Why? We never went to Maandamano because of Prime Cabinet Secretary.
True.
Did we do that? No. In fact, we were talking about, people are talking about cost of living. Others were talking about election clause. And again, these election laws, the way you are saying right now, this is the most affected area, election laws in Kenya, because each and every election before we go, there are always agitation for amendments. Yeah. That's why the Kriegler report gave a very good recommendation that were implemented by the former Justice Mutunga. That is why unaona hata saa hii wakati people are going to the Supreme Court, somehow you are curbed because they implemented almost 95% of the recommendations that were done. So as recommending, we will continue, Bwana Mangicho. We must also say, and I want leaders even one day to look at leaders in a meeting and tell them, if you are not going to address the issue of water here, we are going away. And I've seen that happen. Sure. Leaders are getting it very rough. You have seen what has happened even in Uasin Gishu, that people can go and point at leaders directly and tell them off until leaders are arrested. I wish Kenya could do
that. Is where Kenyans should actually come in.
That's where we are headed.
That is the level.
That's where we are headed, because you see, in as much as Machari I'm not elected, but I'm seeing the fallacy that is being perpetuated by these leaders. Some of us, we go, you find people are just taking government money, they eat it, just with a lot of impunity. And you see, when you go to medical right now, for example, PGH, I'm just giving an example. You find somebody has been told, go and buy this kind of medicine. But at the same time, several orders were passed the other day, about 20 or 30 with the medicine. Where did it went to? Because there are specific interests with certain people who have known this is how we need to get. And this is how we have to do things. Now Kenyans even must do this. That's why we were talking even about devolved governance. You know, this constitution was saying, nyinyi watu wa Nyanza, kama nyinyi watu wa Kisumu, can you agitate for the things that affect you in Kisumu? Even us having pump to purify the water from Lake Victoria, so that our people can have money. Do you know can have water? Do you know Kisumu does not have money? Does not have water? I was there. I lived there for 8 years. Which means that now leaders need to go also down, as I advise people. We need now to look at the system of governance and start telling our leaders at the local grassroots. You know, even if Katiba is changed and Mudavadi is made the deputy president 1 or 2 or 3, it will not affect me, it will not assist me, somebody in Kivumbini who does not see a water running. I need to ask the governor each and every time, what is preventing you from investing in water? What is preventing you from investing in our roads? What has made you divert our funds from development into recurrent, whereby you people are just going for training all the day until no money is available for Wanjiku. So matters of constitution and all the laws, they must all be packaged for the benefit of that Wanjiku machinery.
And I think because of time, we want to bring it to a stop at this particular juncture. But we really want to appreciate our guest for today, political analyst and also from Friends of Devolution, that is one Ben Macharia. Asante sana for such great insights and a well-thought contribution on this particular pertinent issue. So moving forward, should we ask this particular team being led by Professor PLO Lumumba to halt?
Moving forward, what we just need to do, we don't just tell them to halt. Yes. But because we have started the process, we now start feeding them with what we think should be the...
What should be the issues?
What should be the issues? Because now, if we halt it again, we may never address some of these issues. We just need to tell them, in as much as you discuss election amendments, in as much as you want to talk about Prime Cabinet Office and the opposition, just remember, these are the issues for Wanjiku.
Okay.
Yes.
Very well. That's a very, very awesome discussion and very robust conversation right here on the Mid-Morning Pack. We also want to appreciate you so much for finding time to be with us. The Constitution is very, very important, is what embodies this particular government and, of course, our society. And it's important that you also, as a citizen of this particular country, be aware and knowledgeable on matters relating to it. We'll do it again next week at a time like this. On behalf of the entire crew that has made this a success, my name is Mangi Chomola. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
All right, I want to thank you for finding time to be with us in the Mid-Morning Pack this week, God willing next week, and have a blessed day ahead. My name is Paul Kagi.